Many years ago, I did a series on the Czech Benoni, as one of my middle school students at the time had a lot of interest in it and wanted to transition from playing more complicated King's Indian positions to doing something a bit novel and interesting to him. So I will dabble in playing different things, and this was a game against a 2400 Lichess Blitz rated player, and let's get right in. As typically what we see from this type of position, and you can check the playlist on our channel for the Czech Benoni, you'll get this set up, and normally it's castles, knight e8, g6, knight g7, and f5 break. Sometimes you'll play a b-pawn break. I've always been a fan of closed positions. Now, modern engines absolutely hate this position, and it's just not played too much anymore. So from a surprise value perspective, maybe it's good for a game or when you're playing against a much lower rated player, but it's not a permanent weapon by any means. A blitz opening. And one of the lines that I feel is actively best against the Czech Benoni is with knight g2. As normal plans with castles, you're met by knight g3, and then on knight e8, white has h4. And the first time I had seen this, I had played this in a simul against Grandmaster Serper and got stomped. I didn't take the h-pawn. I mean, it's pretty obvious to see that we're going to have some problems if this is played. So knowing that this plan exists, I on the fly said, all right, don't castle into this attack. They want to play knight g3, so I'm going to play h5. So if you go knight g3, I'm going to kick you right back. So they play h4. Now, this is far different than the typical themes that we'll get with being able to play for an f5 break. I'm just solid here. So let's see how the game continues after knight g3. Well, I'm going to need to seek counterplay elsewhere, and a break square is on b5, so a6. Now they're adopting a Samish-like setup. Well, that doesn't quite feel right, because I have a lot of strength on the dark squares. How are you going to defend that h-pawn after knight fd7? If bishop g5, I'm just going to take, and my queen will be on a great square. So they decide to go back. We take pawns. Now, my dark square bishop, is it the good bishop or the bad bishop? And hopefully, when you answer that question, you're answering it from the endgame perspective. If the majority of your pawns, especially the center pawns, are locked on the same color as your bishop is only a defensive piece in the ending. That's the bad bishop. So if I'm choosing between g5 or e7, I want to trade off the bad bishop for my opponent's good one. f4, okay, takes. All right. When I played bishop h4, you had to stop it with g3. You're out of g-pawns. Let's put the question to the king. Now that white has to castle by hand, let's place the bishop on the most active square for the long term, get it out of harm's way, so now my queen is free to move. So is this a slow consolidation position, as we've seen in the series so far with a lot of the games? We just develop our pieces to good squares. This is a far more dynamic position because white's king is out in the open, and this is going to be a beacon to attack. What's the most aggressive move you can come up with to try to get after this king as fast as possible? I decided to go with the Benko Gambit style idea with b5. and after c takes b5, knight b6. So I go ahead and take another pawn. It's going to open up squares for pieces, and in the meantime, my knight could be quite annoying jumping into c4. Also, I have freed up squares for this bishop both directions. e5. Hopefully my defensive-minded players weren't immediately, oh, I need to move my bishop. No. Aggression. At least in this game I was in the aggressive mindset, so let's continue with the plan. We played b5 to get some action going and to play against the open king. What do we consider in tactics first? Checks, captures, threats. Do we have any checks? Yes. Development with tempo. Love it. King d2. Any checks? Any checks? That's the last move of the game. Just because an opening is deemed as bad by modern standards doesn't mean you can't play it at different time controls and still have fun with it. If you want something that is structurally based and simple, Czech Benoni could be a temporary option for you in a few games, and you occasionally get these fun type positions where white's too relaxed and tactics can win games quick.